The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order! The Reels of Justice, Hell on Reels, is now in possession. Grudge Dylan J. Schlender presiding. Will you all please dies for the horrible Grudge Schlender?
Be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice, Hell on Reels. Today we are hearing the case of The People vs. Cocaine Bear, a 2023 horror comedy about a bear that ingests a prodigious amount of cocaine and proceeds to go on a rampage. For those of you unfamiliar with our spooky court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of the sin of being a bad movie. If so, it shall be cast for all eternity into the fiery pits of movie hell, upon which this courthouse just so happens to be built. Mr. Marty Ketola, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
An Italian Defamation League still might come after us. Be careful.
I know. We've had Marty on the show before. Listen to the old episodes. The joke makes sense.
It's good to be back, everyone. Okay. In the year 2053, someone will make a movie called COVID Bear. And those people who were born in the 2030s will proceed to tell us what it was really like in the 2020s. And this is kind of how I feel about Cocaine Bear. A movie set in the 80s? Yeah, right. With no script and no idea of what cocaine is. I will be breaking this all down in my three main exhibits tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Ketola. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. Maynard Bangs. Please present your opening statement.
Hi, here. Yes, Your Honor. Hi, I'm ready. All right. I was up all night, every night this week getting ready, and I'm really ready. So, all right, let me just jump right into this, okay? First, I want to make clear the facts concerning this case. It was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon on September the 11th, 1985. My client was just settling down to a relaxing evening in her cave when she was roused by the sounds of commotion from outside her domicile. Feeling for the safety of her 2 cubs, as any mother would, and for the safety of her precious narcotic stash, my client went to check the source of this disturbance. At this time, she found a group of human beings illegally trespassing in her territory. Now, Your Honor, my client does not have a history of violence. Black bears are not known to attack unless provoked. And further, let the record show that since 1900, only 61 individuals have been killed by black bears in North America. What we have here is a clear and simple case of self-defense, Your Honor. A mama bear simply defending her cubs and her incredibly valuable cache of mind-altering drugs. It's good shit, Your Honor. It's really good shit. It's like not the bullshit you get down by the pier. It's like the real shit. It's like pure as the motherfucking driven New England snow. And, Your Honor, I will remind you, Chattahoochee National Forest is in the great state of Georgia, a stand-your-ground state, wherein my defendant did not need to retreat before using lethal force. And also, could I just say that this whole trial is a fucking witch hunt, man. My client is the clear victim of prejudice and discrimination just because of the species she was assigned at birth, bear.
Excuse me, Mr. Bangs, you're aware you're here to defend the movie Cocaine Bear, not the actual bear itself.
Yeah, totally. I'm just killing time, Your Honor.
Oh.
Is that powdered sugar, by the way? I think that's powdered sugar.
Delicious.
Have the caretaker try some.
It's condensed milk. I love this stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Bangs. Mr. Ketola, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
Yeah, the caretaker might want to lay off the blow a little bit. His nose is already starting to deteriorate there. So,
that's a pre-existing condition.
Yeah. Okay, number one exhibit, the script. If script is bad, foundation sucks, movie has no chance. what is my definition of a movie? Well, all films are films when they're made, right? And how does a film turn into a movie? When it gets uh, an ad campaign, and then it goes into theaters and starts selling popcorn and renting seats. Now, as far as that definition of movie goes, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's a total programmer. It has all the elements, but nothing connects. I mean, there's all these multiple storylines. None are engaging. I couldn't tell you a name of a single character in the movie. Not a clue. I mean, I kind of vaguely remember who some of them were. What a waste of a good cast, too. I mean, Ray Liotta certainly deserved better for his last film. And it doesn't even follow the most basic animal versus man tropes. I mean, you could just follow the basic Jaws template. I mean, you could follow the template from Grizzly was better.
Ooh.
I mean, Burt I. Gordon did these type of movies better, guys. This is Attack of the Eye Creatures. They just didn't care.
Mr. Bangs, would you care to respond to this comment? Was there no script? Did they not care?
There was a script. In fact, the script was created before anyone was tied on. Elizabeth Banks read the script and enjoyed it, and that's why she signed on to direct it. So there is a script.
I'd at least like to somewhat care about the characters just a little bit.
But I think there are characters to care about. The kids are incredibly easy to attach to because they're so likable and easygoing. They try cocaine, right? They're not like the kind of protected kids you usually see in movies. They're more like the troublemaker kids you might see in something like The Goonies. They're kids that are out for adventure and trouble, and they find it. So I think they're incredibly likable. The other characters are sort of there for body count. I mean, again, there is the mother. There's the mother of the daughter, and you're also supposed to like her, right? She is obviously separated, but a nurse, and obviously trying to care for her mother as a single parent. There's a parallel created between that and the bear and her two cubs. So there are characters you're supposed to sort of attach to. The main character you're supposed to root for is the bear, though,
All right,
who I think you follow very well throughout this film.
All right, Mr. Ketola, if you'd like to move on to your next point or expand more on the bear as it relates to this film, that would be good too.
When I get into, I think it's my third point, it kind of reflects a little.
No, absolutely. Go your own way, man. What do you want to bring up next?
All right. So number 2. What fucking year is this? Sir, I knew 1985. I was reluctant friends with 1985, and you, Cocaine Bear, are no 1985. There's zero attempt made for this to be a period piece at all. Fashions and hair from multi-decades all crammed together proves we have truly forgotten what the past was. I guess it only takes about 40 years to completely forget what the past was. Oh my God. And for example, the Ranger's friend? What the fuck was that? I have never seen that guy before anywhere ever. I don't know what decade he was from. Weird amalgamation of like, well, let's just put a wig on you and the flannel and your 80s.
You spend a lot of time in Georgia?
Whew, yeah, I just don't remember that guy from any decade. But yeah, I feel like one of the biggest issues with the movie is if they had just dropped the whole it's set in 1985 thing, there would have been a lot more to forgive. But since it's trying to show me a period piece and making zero attempt at being the past, what was the point?
Yeah, I'll respond to that. I don't think they're really married to making this a 1985 piece. I mean, the incident it's based on was in 85, and I think they're trying to keep some kind of thread so they can keep some tie to the original incident, as threadbare as it is. But I don't think they're actually trying to replicate 1985. Majority of this movie is out in the middle of the woods. So it's not like we're really going to build this world of 1985. It's not exactly what the film wants to do.
Yeah,
I agree with you that it may not be a great representation of it, but I just don't think that was one of its goals.
Well, then they should have not made it be 1985.
I think that's just because the source origin story was, and they want to have some tie to it.
Mm-hmm.
They mostly use it for humor, right? I mean, like the opening sort of sequence with him dancing on the plane.
Yeah, the music's probably about the only thing that they kind of got right. the cheapest songs from the mid-'80s they could license, I'm sure.
All hits.
Been there.
All right, Mr. Ketola, if you'd like to move on to your next exhibit or expand on this further.
Well, that's enough hammering on it for that anyway. So let me move on to my third one here. Okay.
Not hammering. Please let up, Marty. Don't hurt him, Hammer.
He doesn't have feelings.
Point number 3. Tell me you know nothing about cocaine without telling me you know nothing about cocaine. No research done at all. Kids do spoonfuls. They walk away like nothing. Bear does a little bump and he goes completely apeshit like he's Popeye on spinach. What are the rules of cocaine in this movie? It doesn't make sense.
Wait, I'd like to make an objection.
A spoonful of cocaine.
Okay,
This
well, hold on a
should
second.
go numb. At least.
We don't-
What's your objection, Mr. Banks?
Well, one, we don't fully see the effects of the drugs. One, the little girl disappears off camera almost immediately after the mouthful of cocaine incident. And the little boy is stuck up a tree, panicked from the bear. Is his mouth numb? Probably. Maybe even worse. He's probably really freaking out. But he's also being chased up a tree by a potentially killer bear. So it's probably a secondary problem. And I do actually think that the little girl ingesting cocaine is a big critical reason of why she disappears for a majority of the film. So I do think there are effects that these drugs are having on these two kids. And they do kind of mess them up for at least the rest of the day. Now, as far as the bear taking a little bump, I mean, this thing was already probably full of a lot of cocaine. It's not like that little bump is what's sending it surging. But, I mean, if they're already going, a little bit is going to help. But as far as showing what cocaine does, I mean, it will create agitation, aggression, increased heart rate. A lot of the, pupil dilation, a lot of the stuff that the bear is showing is effects of cocaine. Not that we know what the effects of cocaine on a bear would be.
Heart attack.
But we do know what the effects of cocaine on one bear was. But
Well, so what happened in real life to the bear?
we're not
Did
talking
it go
about
on a
that yet,
rampage?
Your Honor.
That's just a question from the bench.
Sorry.
Well, I will say that if this movie had actually been made in the 80s when Coke was all over virtually every movie set, this would be a totally different movie. Because you would have...
Yeah, it would have barely gotten made.
No.
The bear would have talked.
All those
He would have
got
sat
made,
someone
too.
down and had a conversation. Probably someone would have gotten hurt because they would have tried to use a real bear.
Ooh, sounds like a better movie already.
No, they did that. It's called Grizzly, and the bear's not allowed to be in a shot with any real people. They're too dangerous.
That one too.
So.
All right. Mr. Ketola, is there anything else you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I just thought it was odd that, little kids do giant amount of Coke and they're basically fine. Bear does not enough Coke to go crazy, and it's Popeye. So
He was eating entire bags of it over and over.
And at the end, when it's like laying there and it gets its one little magical Pixar CG bump up the nose, it's ready to go crazy again.
I think that was more for storytelling drama. And I love the parallel to Popeye. You're right. It did pop up like a hero.
Mm-hmm. Just kind of a lack of rules as far as what the superpowered drug does, I thought.
Marty, would you like to comment on anything else about the bear? Maybe the way it's handled, as Mr. Banks' conjecture was that we're supposed to be rooting for the bear.
I mean, you want me to say something positive about the movie? I'm trying to...
No. I was just, if that's a point you'd like to address, anything about the bear specifically. I mean, it is called Cocaine Bear.
Yeah, the bear itself, I didn't mind so much, but speaking of the bear, you reminded me of another part of the movie that didn't make any goddamn sense, which makes me think, they had the script and then they shot the thing and they didn't alter things. So at one point, the bear falls on Han Solo, right? The guy who played Solo in the Solo movie. And then what is he
Harrison
saying?
Ford. Yeah.
Like, it's a girl because my face is near its vagina or something. Does he say it's
The vagina's on my ear, I think is the one.
The bear's laying on him the other direction. What? No. It makes it's just another thing. It's just like they just didn't care.
All right. Anything else you'd like to bring up, Marty, before we kick it over to Mr. Banks?
No, I just have my closing statement, so kick it back over.
All right, very good. Mr. Bangs, you may begin.
Your Honor, you wanted the true events behind this film.
I
And
did,
Cocaine Bear
yes.
is inspired by true events. It isn't recreating true events. It's inspired by true events. So a lot like Delta Force that we dealt with recently, what this is kind of a fantasy reimagining of what could have happened, what's something else that could have happened, that it's a lot more interesting of the story. Now, what happened in reality is a lot of what you see in the beginning of the film is what happened. Andrew Thornton was a narcotics officer / drug smuggler. He's overloaded his plane with cocaine, so it's going down. So he has to start basically bailing it out of the plane. Then he throws himself out carrying way too much cocaine, which makes his parachute fail, and he falls to his death. The film makes him look a little bit more like an idiot, but essentially that is the kicking off point of it. And essentially a large amount of this cocaine ended up in the forest. When it was recovered, they found a dead bear next to it. With like 40 empty packets. So clearly the bear had eaten it and like I couldn't get the measurement on how much a packet was. But it's way too much because also let's say this is not a big bear. It is a male, but it was 175 pounds. That is not a full adult. Adult male black bears are like 400 pounds. So this was not full mature. So this is like a little teenage bear.
It was 175 pounds, you said?
Yes.
All right, that's not even like a fully grown man.
No, I'm bigger than this bear. I would survive eating this amount of cocaine better than this bear because not only am I bigger, but I have a genetic disposition towards it. So the real bear dies. Isn't that sad? And this kicks off the inspiration for this script. Elizabeth Bangs said, when she read the script, she then looked up the real story. And she said, in an interview with Variety, I believe it's with Screen Rant, it really depressed me that the bear had become collateral damage in this insane war on drugs. And I just felt like this movie was the redemption story for that bear. And if you look at it, this film kind of is an eco-horror revenge fantasy. What if instead of just being a victim of mankind, because let's admit that's what the bear is, the coca plant exists naturally, right? But man has to gather it, extract the alkaloid cocaine, purify it, synthesize it, bundle it up, put it on a plane, and then throw it out of a plane, basically into a black bear's mouth for this fucking bear to eat enough cocaine to die. So, the hand of man is really what kills the bear. So, but instead of the bear being the victim of man, what if the bear becomes a killer? What kills him instead now makes him a killer. And he in turn becomes an instrument of mankind's destruction. This kind of reminds me of a great movie. Ben's a fan of it. 1954's Gojira, right? You've got an innocent little dinosaur hibernating. And here comes this atom bomb dropped by man. Irradiates the dinosaur, who naturally is pissed the fuck off, who then in turn goes and destroys the shit out of man. Cocaine Bear is a lot like that. Bears are naturally occurring, but it takes this touch of mankind to mutate it into a monster. It also resembles, to me, the story of Frankenstein, right? Mankind is Dr. Frankenstein. Cocaine Bear, his monster, unwittingly turned into this tool of destruction. Who suffers? Not the doctor, everyone else at the hands of the Cocaine Bear. So I think there is a really great eco-horror origin to this. And I came up with these theories all on my own, and I was happy when I read some interviews with Elizabeth Banks, that she said things that sort of corroborated this idea. She also said in that interview that this movie could be seen as that bear's revenge story. And
I can't believe I lived long enough to hear Maynard Bangs make the man is the real monster argument. Mr. Ketola, would you like to respond to that?
Well, I can't believe you would compare this train wreck to something you love, like Godzilla. This is Sharknado in bear's clothing, guys. This is a train wreck. Your concept
parallels are
a great movie, but that's not.
The parallels are obvious. The monster is an unwilling monster, right? I mean, not only is it turned into a vicious, violent monster by an external force, the drugs. It's also just trying to protect its cubs. It's a lone mother, which Banks says repeatedly in the film is why you get all those characters that need sort of these parental figures, right? You have the mother trying to get close to the daughter. You've got the grieving husband who just lost the wife and now has to go on. You have the father who has to try to get in touch with his son and try to get into the family business while the son just wants to push him away. And then, of course, like all the little punks at the ranger station, they kind of all need a parental figure. I think they discuss in the woods and stuff. So there's obviously this hole, and Banks is trying to add these little side characters to sort of draw the parallels to Mama Bear. Now, on the surface, I like to say, Marty, the same way you can watch Godzilla as just a dinosaur rampaging the city, you can watch this movie as just a bear ripping people apart. And it's great, and it's a lot of fun, and it's really fast-paced. And it moves very quickly, and it's pretty much 90-minute runtime, 95-minute. So if you want to just turn off your brain and watch it like Godzilla smashing a city, you can. But if you want to look at analytically, you can see how all of it is representative of this struggle of man and nature, the hubris of man trying to dominate and control nature, and nature always lashing out, striking back.
Yeah, but Godzilla and all of its many sequels are just so much better examples of everything you just described. I don't see any of that in Sharknado. I see a failed attempt at that.
And we're not talking about Sharknado. We're talking about Cocaine Bear.
Oh, see, that's how much I think Cocaine Bear is Sharknado.
No, they're incredibly different.
Failures. Yeah.
One, I don't think Cocaine Bear is trying to parody creature features necessarily. I think it is being very sincere in trying to be an eco-revenge horror. You're supposed to like the bear. Not at first. There's the pivot point where you really start to empathize with the bear.
Yeah,
so you say that again, Marty?
You all introduced it as a horror comedy, though.
It is a horror comedy.
But
that is what comes up when you Google it.
It is a horror comedy.
I feel like
it's absolutely a comedy if that's not clued in by the fact that Jane by Jefferson Starship Starship plays at the credits, which also played at the opening credits in Wet Hot American Summer, which starred Elizabeth Banks, a comedy, one of her first movies. So she's saying right off the bat, and Ryan, I didn't actually see that movie. Is that an 80s movie? I mean, it's not. It's a 2000s movie, but is it about
set in
80s?
81? Yeah,
right. Yeah. So it's set in the 80s. So it's clearly trying to immediately set this standard of this here is going to be a lighthearted comedy. You've got the kids. I mean, if it's not a comedy, they don't let you develop kids like that, just eating spoonfuls of cocaine for like fun. You know, they don't show the consequences of that, which they would in almost any real family film.
Well, you shouldn't bring up a better movie inside of your shitty movie, because then that makes me feel like I wish I was just watching Wet Hot American Summer instead. A much better film.
Oh, I think it was just the beginning and sort of a fun little note. But I think there's some great sequences in this film. I think all the stuff in the ranger station is really interestingly done, especially when the paramedics show up. When she has to whisper bear into the stethoscope. There's some like great tension there. The ambulance scene is particularly impressive, right? With the Depeche Mode's Just Can't Get Enough and the bear chasing them. You know, it shows the violence so barefaced, right? That it doesn't hold back at all. You know, like when the female ambulance driver crashes into that tree, she goes flying out that windshield. And they make you watch the whole thing, bones crushed and all.
Yeah, but to go back to my earlier points, I'm sitting there going, that ain't 1985, guys. And it's just pulling me out at every second. And that's
I just don't think that matters. To me, this wants to be a very violent slasher movie on the surface. Bear slasher, but I mean, it's more than a creature feature. I would say it's a slasher due to the body counts, and how they all kind of disappear one by one. But I think all those ideas and themes are present, and when you hear the interviews from Banks, she was right along with it. You know, she sees this as an ecological revenge. The bear's redemption story, the real life bear who was killed innocently by these drug smugglers who threw their drugs out of a plane. Now he gets his turn to just rip them apart.
Well,
And unlike Delta Force, it's not an ego trip, right? Because it's not Elizabeth Banks killing those guys; it's the bear.
Elizabeth Banks in a bear suit.
Of course, Elizabeth Banks is going to defend her movie. She's supposed to promote the thing. Of course, she's going to say good things. And then you go see it and you go, oh, I wish it was the movie she was describing.
All right. Any further exhibits you'd like to bring up, Mr. Banks?
Well, I would like to say that, there's the moment where the girl is sort of kidnapped. And one of the things I read in one of the criticisms is like, why does it kidnap a little girl? And, we never see what happens in the scene between when the bear shows up and the girl disappears, right? We cut away only to find the boy now up a tree.
Yeah,
now, if he was busy climbing a tree, maybe he didn't see exactly what happened to the girl. Maybe the girl followed this bear. Maybe she rode the bear. She is probably high on cocaine, and so is the bear. And they probably get a little bit of synergy with each other. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And ultimately we find out at the end of the movie that she wasn't held prisoner. The movie holds this up. She could have left any time. The bear's not watching her. She could walk out of that cave. She's perfectly safe the entire time. She chooses to hang out with the cubs. Probably thinks they're cute. And so I think it's not out of line to suggest that this bear finding this young girl who has ingested cocaine and becomes kind of sympathetic and protective, and the maternal instincts kick in. And she brings the girl back to her cave to be with her cubs and protect her like one of her cubs. I mean, she is a coked out, irrational bear. She's not exactly making, sensible choices. And I'd also like to point out that that's a great homage to The Simpsons Season 1, Episode 7, The Call of the Simpsons, wherein the same thing happens to Maggie Simpson.
I do like that.
More enjoyable.
I know. Well,
you're reminding me of Better Things movie.
I would like to remind you that Season 1 of The Simpsons is especially unpopular, even among diehards. So it's unlikely the filmmakers ever saw that episode. But I still like to believe it's an homage. Cocaine Bear, Ryan, you'll like this. He's a lot like Paddington. He brings families together. He roots out the bad guys. He does the best he can to bring out the good in them, and failing that, he mauls them. She mauls them. She.
Just like Paddington.
Exactly. But, this movie, it's also about the struggles of a single parent, especially with a substance abuse problem, trying to raise her cubs in a world of oversexed park rangers, criminally minded teenagers, and gun-toting drug runners. And what happens when she reaches her breaking point? Cocaine Bear's like falling down with a bear on cocaine. I guess with that, I'll rest your honor.
You rest there. All right. Thank you. Both sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now.
I have my closing statement still.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm just about to say.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so all sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Ketola, you may begin.
You think I'd know this stuff? I only listen every week.
Okay. It's all right, brother.
Well, you don't like Cocaine Bear? You're just too old. You don't know how to have fun. But that means everyone's tastes are suspect, because when COVID Bear releases in 2053 and you call bullshit on it, then you'll just be old too.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bangs, please present your closing argument. I am looking forward to COVID Bear. Movie's gonna be dope.
If you wanna get mauled, just try and take her a ball, Cocaine Bear. Bow. If you wanna get bit, just try and nab up her shit, Cocaine Bear. Bow. You will die, you will die, you will die, Cocaine Bear. Bow. She will do gnarly lines off your chalked up outline, Cocaine Bear. Bow. She will fuck up your buzz if you fuck with her cubs, Cocaine Bear. Bow. She gets high, she gets high, she gets high, Cocaine Bear. Bow. If you wanna have fun for 95-minute run, Cocaine Bear. If you wanna fall as she breaks out her claws, Cocaine Bear. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, Cocaine Bear. Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty, Cocaine Bear.
That went on for 15 minutes, ladies and gentlemen.
We had to edit it down.
Oh my God. So we're going to hold Mr. Bangs in contempt of court, but the rest of you, members of the jury.
That mouth guitar solo was particularly uncalled for.
Oh my God. He just kept going. Members of the jury, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, and Mr. Apex Predator, high on cocaine, Ryan Luis Rodriguez. You have all heard the spooky facts concerning this case. It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of the sin of being a bad movie, and will therefore be condemned to the depths of movie hell. The scare taker will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
Right this way! You know, I saw this movie in theaters. You should have seen the size of the lines in the bathroom!
Jeez, caretaker. I can't believe I have to carpool with that guy.
Okay, I'm going to say what I need to say up front because I'm probably going to be talked over anyway.
Take a breath and then just let it out like Rob did.
I'm looking at my notes, and ironically, I had one of the exact same notes that Marty had, which is verbatim, what a waste of a great cast. I thought I was being original in saying that. I was not. But to go to the opening credits, which is where the movie began to piss me off, because I saw this in theaters. I really shouldn't have, but I did. And by stealing the top song from Wet Hot American Summer, I cannot abide by that. That is unacceptable for my blood. But the biggest problem is that the best joke in the entire movie is in the opening credits, which is the Wikipedia citation. And it's one of those moments where you're like, oh, that's going to be the kind of movie this is. And then you actually sit down and unpack it. And it's like, oh no, this is going to be 95 minutes of pain. This is a viral marketing campaign, not a movie. The only set piece that I like is the ambulance chase. It's drowning in ultimately pointless subplots, and it's trying so hard to be a Coen Brothers movie. Dylan, what do you have to say?
Oh. Look, I will be very upfront. I when I first saw this movie, I was really expecting some decent schlock, and it really wasn't even that. I think it is a bit better on the rewatch because your expectations are much, much lower. I gotta be honest with you. The one thing I was really hoping to hear brought up was just how terrible the bear looks, but no one brought that up in the case. And I agree with Marty's points about, you know, this is supposed to be the 80s, but it doesn't really feel or even look like the 80s. But then Maynard had a good counterpoint. It's like most of the movies in the woods, you know, and I can accept in a movie like this saying it's the 80s as a contrivance for why no one has cell phones. You know, like I get it, you know, I do. It's like I buy.
How would you even bring that up? Boy, I wish I could call someone right now. Oh, wait,
yeah,
those haven't been invented yet.
Yeah, exactly. So I have no problem with this idea of movies being set in the 90s and 80s to you know, take care of those, like nip those plot holes in the bud. And
that's actually kind of a problem I have with 80s films.
No, because if it took place nowadays, they would just be, oh, I've got no service. It's like,
it's a reverse.
I literally get service. Yeah, I literally have service everywhere. I just don't think that's a thing anymore.
But I don't think the 80s looked like the films portray the 80s to look, you know, it looked a lot more subdued.
Well, they didn't
than that.
sound particularly 80s or anything. And it was a wasted. It was a wasted cast, but you know, I do appreciate.
You're not there because of the '80s, though. I mean, maybe it would have been a good backdrop. You're there for the Cocaine Bear. That was the selling point.
Cocaine Bear, and it's criminally underutilized. I do like the research that Maynard brought in about how Banks wanted this to be like an eco revenge movie, and it is, though a tepid one.
Is it?
Know?
like he even said so. Like he thought that, but he didn't, like, the movie didn't say it, and then he had to go Google it, and then Elizabeth Banks said this.
Yeah, well,
that's not in the movie.
I mean, it's literally in the movie. The bear eats cocaine. I mean, like that. Like
not that it's an eco revenge thing. It's like he eats cocaine. Like,
well,
but what was being sold to us is like, it's going to be a crazy bear, like a bear that's just amped up, and that's going to be scary and funny at the same time. And that's not like it's delivered to us, especially not.
I would say that's definitely the biggest draw of it. Isn't like they want this cocaine bear to be getting crazy good kills, and if it has that, again, it's tepid. It's but it's there's that little undercurrent of meaning and depth there. Maybe it's even a critique on the war on drugs. Who's to say, really? But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming down. I'm a little 50-50 right now. So Big Ben, how about you expound upon what you're thinking?
I saw this on a plane. That didn't help. I saw this after X versus Sever. That especially didn't help. So I was in a very bad mood, and I was waiting to be picked up. It never happened. I had a movie that was in my head based on the trailers that this wasn't. It kind of pretended to be every so often, but it wasn't quite there. And then after I saw it, I completely forgot about it. Like all the stuff they were talking about, I kind of remember like, oh yeah, the kids. Don't you care about the kids? I was thinking, I remember there were kids. I don't really remember anything about them beyond that, or any of those characters. I remember Han Solo was in it. I couldn't tell you what he does. I don't remember what his character is like.
Was that real? That was really Han Solo. That wasn't a joke.
That's him. No, that's him.
Oh,
yeah, Alden. Yeah.
No, because I gotta agree with you, Ben. This movie just completely nothing sticks with me about it. Like even the things.
I remember the ambulance chase. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, that was in the trailer too, right?
Yes. Yeah, probably. That's probably why I remember. I saw it like 50 times. Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay, let's lock it in. Dylan, you said you're 50-50, so I'm going to push you on this one.
All right, that's fair. The deficiencies of this movie are numerous, and I wish I heard a few more of them better articulated in the case. And I think the deficiencies that were brought up, Maynard was able to parry in such a way that, while not making the movie good, at least added a little more substance to it. So I'm very comfortable saying that this movie's not bad based on the merits of the case we heard today. Though there were a few things I wish I had heard, so I could go guilty. But just based on the strengths and merits of the case, I'm going to say not guilty.
Ben?
The arguments I did like on the defense side, I still can't wrap my head around, particularly comparing this to Godzilla. I just don't see it. I want to, but I don't. No,
it's there. It's just very weak, though. It's not a strong comparison, but it's there. So, like this movie is very epigonic to a film like Godzilla. It's like
using your 10-cent college words.
Well, it's like remember in Multiplicity where you make the clone of a clone of a clone, and it just gets dumber and dumber and dumber. I mean, that's what you're seeing here.
Yeah, they
so
did
it's
it on the
dumb, but it's
so it's dumb.
Yes, exactly.
I think like there are a lot of bad movies out there. The ones that make you angry are the ones that could have been good, that had such a good idea, but they just, fall on their face in execution. And that's what this one is for me. I agreed with the prosecution. The script isn't there. There's nothing clever about it. Everything's forgettable. It doesn't think about the impacts of the cocaine. It doesn't even really echo the real story. So I just think it kind of flubs on everything it was shooting for. So I am going guilty.
Okay, hear me out.
All right.
I know I've just said such horrible things about cocaine.
Oh, no.
I've said terrible things that I can never take back. But one thing that I can really never take back, Rob had the better case. I'm sorry to say, I'm going to actually have to swerve on this one and go, based on the merits of the argument, not guilty.
What? Oh, I'm so sorry, Marty. You needed a win. Oh no. He's lost everyone, and he's provided such good cases. Oh, no.
Should we get out there?
Oh, go tell that very handsome judge.
Thank you.
Got to stroke his ego.
Thank you. Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. Somehow, in the case of the People versus Cocaine Bear, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie.
Can't believe it.
Not guilty.
No, it's not an invitation to start that shit again.
Okay.
No.
Order
No.
get this man out of the court.
This is going to be your escape from LA. I'm going to call that now, Ryan. You're going to regret this.
The verdict is so rendered. Cocaine Bear will go undercover to help us find and prosecute bad narcotics-related movies. Court is adjourned.
This is Barry B. Cadbury. I cannot bear how few bear puns there were in this trial. What are your qualifications? At least give me a barroplane joke. Jeez. Marty Ketola, I'm the bearer of bad news. You lost this case. How embarrassing. What happened?
Oh, I don't know. If you all want to watch this, you go for it. You know, it's a terrible fucking movie, and you know it. If you got a vendetta against me, that's cool too. I don't know what I did, but obviously this movie sucks, and we all know it. But, you know, I do feel sorry for the movie more than anything because it's a victim of COVID. The whole movie was shifted to Ireland to be shot, which immediately screwed up any chance of it being a period piece. So that's when I said earlier that it would have been better if they would have just dropped that and made it in the present day, and then they wouldn't have had to worry about ridiculous hairstyles or 90s fashions mixing in. But yeah.
Thank you very much. And here comes Maynard Bangs. Pause for a minute and tell me how this is possible that you won.
I am actually surprised. I stared doing some harebrained theories when I was doing my research.
You mean
and then it
bear
was just
brain.
interesting bear brain. And it was just interesting that Banks was echoing the things I was saying. All that stuff is subtext. It's not like the bear's gonna sit people down and going, me ripping you apart, high on cocaine is really, your own actions coming back against you and mankind. The bear doesn't understand that. Godzilla doesn't sit, Tokyo down and explain the ramifications of him destroying it. That's subtext. But I do see that subtext there. So I think it's not a great movie, but I think there's a little bit of an idea there and enough fun and violence that I actually kind of like.
And that's all for me. Let's forever return to the studio for analysis while I audition for the Bear Taker.
Now, Rob, I hope
Marty,
it
we
hurt
do
your
not have a
feelings.
grudge against
You were robbed. You were robbed.
No, you were
I'm
not
so-
robbed. I think this is like...
You were robbed, ROBB.
Even if I give you the point that they got all the setting wrong, a bad backdrop does not make a bad movie. Especially here where it just wasn't important. They were in the woods.
But you
it
know
really
what
could
does make a bad
happen
movie?
any time.
You know what does make a bad movie? A bad script. If the script is shitty, the movie cannot be any good, and that's one of the worst scripts I have ever fucking heard in a film, and you know it.
No, I don't. I totally disagree. We already did the case, but I think all of those characters are memorable. I know everyone else here forgot about them, but all of them have a little shtick and are kind of funny.
List their names right now. Say their names right now.
Their characters, I don't know. I don't know the character names. Besides that,
Tell me
Andrew
one
Thornton
thing Han Solo does.
Well, besides the fact that Andrew Thornton is the guy, Matthew Rhys is Andrew Thornton at the beginning of the movie because he's the only real character. Christopher in the beginning, his name's Olaf because his wife in the movie actually calls him Christopher, his real life name, and they keep it in the movie. And you didn't even bring that up, Marty.
I couldn't watch it a second time. It was terrible.
No, actually,
but
I did. The violence was pretty good. The bear climbing the tree, killing. At the end, it's a slasher, right? It's a mindless.
Speaking of mindless, I think we've talked enough about this movie. I'm interested in what Marty has going on in his real life,
and if he'll come back after this.
Well, I don't know what the point is. I got my new movie finally came out. Love Song of William H. Shaw. It's the follow up to my previous film that nobody saw because it's on Tubi and it's hidden away amongst the thousands and thousands of other films, but. It's done a few film festivals so far, and it'll be doing more into the fall and into spring next year. And that was another one that was like the Cocaine Bear movie. It was a victim of COVID. I had to start and stop many times. We started shooting it in March of 2020, and well, we all know what happened that month. So, but at least it's finally done, and it's getting some good reviews and whatnot. People seem to be enjoying it. So,
yeah, no, I know you've given us a screening link, and we'll be able to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, Dylan lives on Tubi.
That's
it's
right.
true.
But yeah, we definitely look forward to checking out that one. And is there a plan to release like all three in any sort of available package?
Well, that's the hope, you know. But the thing is, Tubi just recently changed how people can upload movies to it themselves. Basically, that whole part of the webpage has just disappeared. I think it's because Tubi's getting too big. So we have to find a sub distributor like Film Hub or somebody that can then put the movie on that way. And as far as the first film in the series goes, because it's a trilogy, why do you make a trilogy and nobody's even seen any of them? Well, you know, when people want to make another movie, you make it, because whatever movie comes your way, you take the opportunity. But the first movie, Writing Frenzy, was shot on mini DV, and there might be an issue with that one for its low fidelity. But we're going to look into it and see if it's possible to get it on Tubi. But at some point, we'll probably do, all three of them on physical at least.
Or you'll have to
that'd be cool.
remake the first one.
Yeah, or you can re-edit them like into a
But if you
comprehensive.
remade the first one, then that's like Red Dragon, right? But people can go back and watch Manhunter still.
Ooh.
Well, having been in that
Manhunter's
world for
so
a while, we're going
See?
to hopefully do some new stories moving forward. We've told enough stories about these guys in the comic book shop, so.
Oh, well, that's fair.
Oh, excited for something new too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. We are very looking forward to see what you're going to do next. May I suggest Cocaine Bear? There's a lot of fertile symbological
right.
groundwork you could play on. But we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see. It's the spooky season, so what is a spooky movie that you think people should see?
Oh, yeah, my recommendation. I had to go back and forth on this a lot. I had another movie, and I realized, that's not scary. Well, it might be scary to some people, but it's not a horror movie choice. So after going back and forth, I've decided my choice will be 1982's Alone in the Dark. Have you seen Halloween, Halloween 2, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween 6 so many times, but you need that Donald Pleasance fix in your holiday viewing? Well, look no further than Alone in the Dark, where Donald Pleasance plays a psychiatrist who likes to smoke high-grade weed and deal with his inmates, played by Martin Landau and Jack Palance, who escape and go on a rampage, kind of like if What About Bob was a horror film, where they go to the psychiatrist's house and torment him. What a weird-ass movie this is, but kind of essential viewing for all Misties.
Don't hassle me, I'm Psycho.
And it's not the Christian Slater one, you're sure?
No, correct. I'm sure they're not related at all.
No.
It's based on a video game, so they're definitely not the same movie.
Wait, Tara Reid's in it too? Okay, my recommendation is Alone in the Dark from 2005. No, I'm kidding.
There's no
Donald
scarecrows in it, Dylan.
Donald Pleasance
Hey,
is,
he's right.
based on a video game?
Maybe the video game's based on that. I'll do some more research later.
That would be cool. Now, Marty, you're going to hate my recommendation. I already know that. But my recommendation this week is another film released with a working title that offered a promise it happily fulfilled. 2006's Snakes on a Plane.
Oh, boy.
It does, in fact, heavily feature snakes on a plane. An FBI agent must protect his key witness in a mob trial against an arsenal of venomous snakes released aboard their Boeing 747. Starring the deliciously vulgar Samuel L. Jackson, this film also generated a lot of buzz and hype before its release, simply because of its ridiculous premise and terse, albeit apt, title. In fact, the film created so much buzz, reshoots were scheduled to give the film an R rating, including Jackson's now infamous motherfucking snakes line, which had originated in a parody video of the then yet unreleased film. I don't know if it's meta to parody a work, and then the source material infuses the parody into its own original canon, making your parody a part of the original source material. But it's kind of cool to see art by committee like that. Similar to Cocaine Bear, the snakes are made unnaturally aggressive in the movie through the use of weaponized pheromones. So once again, an innocent creature is made both victim and tool of destruction through the will of man, and man again suffers for his own meddling. Of course, the film has no time to deal with that bullshit. It has a lot of fucks to say, apparently about 30 in all, and a lot of snakes to put on a plane, about 450 to be precise. Though most of the snakes involved in the action were either CGI or animatronic. I know I said snakes, Ryan.
It's got a little Australian.
Luckily, no snakes were harmed in the making of this film. Several dead interns, but no snakes. And Schlenzo, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation concerns J.D. Feigelson, because he is credited with creating the living scarecrow genre in 1981 with my last recommendation, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. Well, he is a man with no ego, because instead of seizing on the popularity he spawned, he took 41 years to craft today's recommendation, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow 2, released in 2022. What can only be described as an anemic offering, not only as a sequel, but in the Scarecrow canon, we see what you would expect. Scarecrow killing folks. There is a strange plot about witness protection, and everything is just incredibly amateurish and off-putting. It is sad that J.D. Feigelson is found in this position. I'm not sure what to say. I am guessing all the ass-kissing he received for writing the first movie had to have gone, very slowly, mind you, but gone nonetheless to his head, and he was just not able to deliver in the capacity of writer, director, and I'm even going to say his cameo as the dispatcher is belabored. Still, it is on Tubi. You can watch it for free, and it really, really makes you appreciate how good the first one is.
In comparison.
Yes.
That's great. Let's see. Big
41 years for this sequel to come out.
I mean, is it the same director?
No, it's the guy Feigelson wrote the first one. He wrote and directed the second one.
Okay, well,
41
his vision is
years
being carried out. I mean, that's inspirational. 41 years, you'll have your Scarecrow movie done.
Maybe.
I look forward to it.
God, I hope so.
Beautiful Ben, what have you got for us?
Beautiful.
I know what you were thinking when watching Cocaine Bear. You thought, damn, what else is the 15th billed Isaiah Whitlock Jr. who played Bob been in? Has he been in any other horror movies where he shows up for a minute to fix a thermostat for John Cusack? Well, you're in luck, because my recommendation centers around just such a film, 2007's one out of maybe 10 Stephen King films that were actually okay, 1408. And this hit me at a time when I was all about that ghost hunting life. Well, on my way to becoming a skeptic, ghosts, ghost hunting, and haunted hotels were perhaps the last fingers I was holding on to in my grips of religion and the supernatural. I plowed through these books that John Cusack was writing with titles like 10 Scariest Hotels and this or that place. I practically knew every supposedly haunted hotel in every state by heart and wanted to stay at each one of them. The world portrayed in this film came at that exact time and hit those right notes for me. And on a recent rewatch, I will admit I had to put on my nostalgia glasses here and there to make it good, but I still think it's worth a watch if you haven't seen it. The plot centers around John Cusack having lost his faith in God right after losing his daughter, staying in the titular haunted room where numerous people who have stepped in all died. The longer he stays, the longer reality seems to warp around him as he has to confront the truths he had buried deep within him.
Yeah, that one
The
is
end.
spooky. Yeah.
Is this Samuel Jackson in that one too?
Yes.
Yeah, see, it's all coming together.
And isn't he in the Scarecrow one too?
No, there are no good actors in the Scarecrow.
Oh
You
no!
don't know that he's under the mask? You don't know that he's in one of the masks?
Yeah, motherfucking scarecrows.
Ryan,
we
what
haven't
Samuel L.
recommended
Jackson
that
horror
one.
movie do you have?
My brain had thought we had recommended that, but no, we haven't.
I was almost going to do Snakes on a Plane. I hadn't seen it, but
well, they
I
mention
didn't
it
have
in
time.
a bunch of reviews and stuff, and I'm like, that is also, stupid and fun. So, but Cocaine Bear is still a lot better.
Didn't we see that in the theaters together? Maybe
We did, and we saw
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear together.
That's true. We do a lot of things together.
Did you see
Yeah,
X
right.
vs. Sever on the plane?
Schlenzo, tell Ryan to please give us our recommendation.
You got it, boss. Hey, Ryan, what's your recommendation?
My spooky recommendation this week is a short film from 1984 called Frankenweenie. Director Tim Burton cut his directorial teeth on this clever and visually inventive little morsel, and you can see the formation of a style carried over from his animation days, carving a straight line to masterpieces like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and Beetlejuice. This sweet homage to James Whale's Universal Monsters movies follows a young boy named, yes, Victor Frankenstein, who reanimates his dog Sparky after he's hit by a car, leading to everything you would expect from the source material that it is wholeheartedly referencing. Burton would go on decades later to remake this short as a feature-length stop-motion film that I guess I also kind of recommend, but the short does it best and in a third of the time. Because you have a busy life and our time on this earth is limited, you can find Frankenweenie on Disney Plus. We're all going to die someday.
Oh, but we'll get reanimated, right, Ryan?
Nope.
Right?
Not
Oh, no.
soon, though, right?
Well, I'd say lay off the nachos, buddy.
I have been. I've been eating them Flanders style. But with that, we are all out of show. We want to thank our guest, Marty Ketola, for joining us. Thank you, Marty.
No, you're welcome. It was fun to prosecute for a change. And this is probably the most fun I've had on the show. And you guys have such peculiar taste that I'm just going to have to find a movie that you love and then defend it to what it really comes down to.
Anything with
Well,
Charlie Bronson.
we have a letterbox list, recommendations of justice, where you can sort by it all and see which one of us have recommended it.
Yeah,
Thanks for
but
the
I
plug,
you want
Marty.
to have in your corner.
Yeah, but I think keep the prosecutor hat on, though. I think you've got it. You've got the mean spirit for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a filmmaker. I don't like to bag on movies, but that was kind of fun. It was kind of fun for a change.
Isn't it? It's not.
It is.
Yeah, it's fun to point out people's foibles.
Once you step onto the dark side,
Easy,
it's
too.
It's a
Yeah.
steep path down.
Yeah, no, prosecuting's my favorite thing in the show.
And I think you may have handed me a first in the history of your show. I'm a 4-time loser. Has anybody else lost 4
I
times?
feel so
on here?
bad. I feel so bad.
No.
I think it might be me.
JB's probably lost 4 times by now. He's been
But
on
you-
like 18 times.
Yes, but he not in a row, and no. But
you know,
again,
also-
it's that all that's going to mean is it's sweeter when you get it, Marty.
And I mean, after
You're going to make Ryan cry when you come on.
Exactly.
after the
Oh, no.
beating that Bobby took on Skinamarink, I mean, I don't feel too bad about today. You know, it's
That's fair.
Well, hey, we'll have you and Bobby go against each other. There we go.
There you go.
Hey, all right.
And we hope everyone else will join us then too, as the Reels of Justice, Hell on Reels, keeps burning.
Count it.
Movie blows!
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.